What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Four Dads Podcast. John was saying he had a bingo night, had a couple margaritas, had a good time. That's always great, especially on a Wednesday. Like, forget Taco Tuesdays, forget
Hump
Thirsty
day.
Thursday, hump day, get home, be with your lovely wife, keeping it PG, but, no, man, how's your week been? How's your week been so far?
It's been solid. I mean, I'm trying to think here. We had Monday off, because of President's Day. I played on Friday. I played from the orange tees like I talked about, and dude, I had a blast.
The video was great. The video was great. Yeah? I really liked it. I liked the way that you played. I was like, look at John go. I was like, I love the excitement with every putt where you were just kind of like, oh, come on, baby, come on.
Right. But
there's a few of them where I was like, why are you being so soft with it? You got like a 30-foot putt. Like,
well, the thing that was really interesting was I was originally planning to play around 10-10 to 10-20, like around that time.
Yeah, that was the goal. Rushed, right?
Exactly. So that was the plan. So Brandon hooked us up. He was able to get us on, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll get you on around that time." I'm like, cool. And then he calls me at 9:15, saying like, "Hey, where are you at?"
Box.
He's like, "I got you for 9:45." Like, it was booked solid from like 10 a.m. to 2. Like, there's a tournament, and you guys are the last ones to go, and there's a tournament behind you. And I was like, crap. Okay, so I called Kyle, and I was like, hey, by the way, just want to let you know, like, we're going to be a little early. He goes, okay, crap. My wife's at the Starbucks right now. When she gets back, I'll go. And Stephanie, for me, she said she was going to finish up a client that she was on the phone with at like 9:20, and I was going to leave, get there early, get some range balls, get some chips, some putts, So I had no warm-up swings, no practice at all. Do I think that could have helped? Yes or no? Because I did drain some long putts where it kind of was like, okay, maybe I wouldn't have normally drained those normally. I don't know. But yeah. I was so surprised. 55, 56 feet, second hole, that eagle. Like, and then I 3-putt the next hole. Like, it was just like, that was more understandable. But I was like, wow, okay. So it would have been interesting because I will at least have an idea of what my swing was like that day before starting the round, because the first swing was on the first hole, and it was not a bad swing, but it's like golf, right?
I'll tell you this much: my last round that I shot 66 on, I hit exactly 15 balls, all of 54 degree. And what was the number that I had the majority of the time into the hole was anywhere from like 130 to 115. And it was like, I was like, full swing 130. I was like, quarter swing, I could flight it between 120 to 1, and lower. And that was the first thing. Like, even on the first hole, I had a shot from literally 100 yards. It was just wet, so I knew it was just going to bite. And my buddy's like, what'd you hit there? And I was like, I hit a 54. He goes, didn't you hit a 54 on the other hole from like 120? And I was like, yeah. He goes, why'd you hit it 54 here? And I was like, I can control it better. Like, it just, visually it looks better. I said a 60. And I mean, my bag, I have a 58 and a 64. And it's like, I'm just starting to realize, like, the 58's nice, but I never hit the 64 anymore. I've learned to, hit that 58 to that 50-yard shot. Right. And so, I don't know. It's like, I just enjoy hitting the 54 degree now, where it's like, I'll hit the face. I'll cut underneath it. And
for me, that's a 58. For me, it's a 58 where I'm just like, okay, I can chip off the greens with this. And even Brandon told me, he's like, you know what? A lot of people don't chip off of greens with a 58. It's usually like a 54, unless you're trying to spin it and stop it, right? You don't really let it roll, but that's just, I hit the 58. I rarely hit the 54. I rarely hit the 50 around the greens. It's just, I always practice with the 58. And I'm like, you know what? Like, if anything, I might want to start practicing with the 54 or 50 when I'm farther out and I have a lot of green to work with to let it like run up. But besides that, I mean, like, I've gotten, what did Tony Finau and someone else who said, maybe Bruce Lee, where it's like, I'd rather go against the guy who has like 10,000 swings. What is it? Like 10,000 swings, 10,000 different swings, instead of like one swing with 10,000 swings or something like that, where like someone has perfected one thing 10,000 times compared to 10,000 times perfecting one thing 10,000 times. Like, you don't understand what I'm saying, right? The opposites.
Yeah.
I might be saying it wrong, but like, I've gained so much confidence over the last like 5 or 6 months. And my buddy Kyle, who I play with, he was the one who showed me the toe up method or toe down method, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is. And I know it's common, but I just always had the heel in, and that would just get stuck half the time, and I would either
Yeah.
chunk it or flight it, and or thin it. And now I just have so much confidence with that because I always practice my chipping, and I almost had a third hole out, third in a row. You know,
I saw. Yeah.
that one that just I thinned, but it just went perfectly, and I was like, oh my gosh, it could actually go in, just poof, right there. But yeah, I mean, it was fun. I mean, and like you said last time, it helped. I was thinking about it more, and I'm like, playing from those tees, you just have so much more confidence with the putter because you're on there
Yeah.
for an eagle, you're on there for a birdie, no matter
Yep.
what. You're not worried about, like, oh yeah, I gotta get closer. You're not gonna mess up. There's not as much pressure,
Yeah.
than normal, and it just made it fun. Now I'm like, I can't wait to play that round where I'm on the red tees, where I'm looking at the tees, and I'm like, 13 of the holes are drivable par fours. I'm like, let's go. Like, and I can use the driver, and I'm better with the driver than my irons. You saw my irons; they were not that pretty.
Mm-hmm.
I had some
Yeah.
shanks, and I'm still working on that, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, like, if I have a kid, which I do, and I tell him to golf, like, I'm gonna have him play from the front tees. Just get him practicing on scoring. Because even Brandon, my buddy, he was saying that he had a few Madeira, I think it was Madeira high school students that played golf, and they would shoot low to mid 80s, as an average from the tips or from wherever they normally play. And even when they had them move up to a tee box, whether it was red or whites or golds or whatever was up, they would still shoot the same because
Yeah.
they didn't think like, hey, attack, attack, attack. It was just
Mm-hmm.
conservative. And that's
Conservative.
like when
Yep.
you learn to practice those shots where it's like, hey, like for me, I'm all about the content for right now. It's like, I don't care if I hit into the water on a 3-wood that's 270 out. Like, if I made that, that would be epic. Like,
Yeah.
like, and if I miss it, oh well. I'm not gonna be a professional golfer anytime soon.
It's like
That's what you
that's
play
like,
for.
but yeah, exactly. You play for the moments, right? Like that
Mhm.
was one of the best things I ever heard from Coach O'Brien in Santa Clara was, when it came to tryouts, right? When it came to the like first day, kind of getting some of the new walk-ons out and stuff,
Mhm.
he always had this speech, which was like, "I'm looking for the wow moments. I'm looking
Mhm.
for the wow factors, right? Guy who lays out, guy who sprints that hard 90, guy who
Mhm.
makes an aggressive turn at first base, pitcher who's dialed in after throwing 3 balls in a row. Like that's what golf's all about.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
that one. It literally takes one shot.
Oh,
Actually, it
yeah,
takes
no.
it takes 3 to 4 shots on one hole
Mm.
that make you want to come back, right? Where it could be crap. I topped my ball off the tee box. Now you're
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm gonna go with the 3-wood, play this aggressively because mentally I'm just checked out. I'm pissed off. I have 2
Mhm.
bogeys
Mhm.
behind me,
Right.
and you connect it, and it's the purest 3-wood you could get. All of a sudden now you're sitting 80 yards out on a hole, and you're like, how did I like? Dude, I hit
Mhm.
that like 280.
Mhm.
Like you're
Yeah.
fired up. Now you're like, okay, now let's just make this. Let's make this good.
Yep.
You get away with what feels like a flub shot, and it gets close, and all of a sudden you're looking at the putt. You're like, okay, I'm doing things I normally don't do. I'm walking it out. I'm looking at everything. All of a sudden, you drain it. You're like, birdie, dude, birdie, dude. Like, can you believe that? It takes one hole. Sometimes it's one shot.
Dude,
For
if you're
some
playing
people,
really bad, that's all it is. One shot.
That's
You're
all
like,
it is.
oh my
And
gosh.
that's it's one shot to seize everything you ever wanted. Eminem.
Yeah. No, it's like Saint Andre. Did you see that clip where he's like, I'm just not going to play golf anymore, guys. Like, it's just not for me. And he goes up on the 18th hole and just flushes one like a foot from the hole, and he looks over at his buddies. I'm going to devote my whole life to this game.
Yep.
I'm going to leave
Every
my
weekend.
family every weekend for the rest of my life. I'm going to devote.
Yep.
I'm going to chase that feeling every time.
Every time.
Spend thousands upon thousands of dollars on golf clubs, like all this stuff. And it's just like, yep, pretty much. Welcome to the club, man. Welcome
to the club.
But
Exactly.
but yeah, I mean, it was really cool because, dude, like legitimately, we were playing what I found out because I wanted to play from the first tee boxes all the way down, and the oranges, like they were on the they weren't even tee boxes half the time, but
No,
we were
like
playing
on
from the
fairways.
kids tees. Exactly, we were on the kids tees, and I was like, dude, this is dope. Like, this is fun because like you're getting an eagle opportunity from somewhere that you might not. But that's so much easier Like I could do it from the blues, but I might do it 1 out of every 10 times. Like to give myself an opportunity for an eagle, should I say, you know? But it's just like, oh dude, eagle, okay. That 56 putt was an eagle from like 300 feet par 5, you know,
Yeah.
thinking about it out loud. But it
Yeah.
was awesome. And I recommend anybody to try that because like it gets you confidence. It helps you learn how to score. You shank it, you're like, okay, I can still scramble for par. I got 3 shots to work with here with like 80 yards. You know, I can do that. It's not as difficult as 3 shots from 150 yards out, you know? And I totally recommend it. But I do want to get into one thing that I recently just saw, the Masters. They were sending out their special invitees. Joaquin Niemann received an invite from the Masters, which I thought was crazy because his whole thing when he won that live tournament that you just said you saw on LinkedIn, oh, look, he won a tournament. He was like, yo, I just want to be in the majors. You know, that was his thing. Apparently, a lot of these live guys, what they said when they signed originally, Greg Norman promised them world golf ranking points. And that hasn't happened yet. Joaquin Niemann won a 54 hole event, moved down to like 200th on the rankings. What is it? What's the other guy? Wyndham Clark played 54 hole event, technically based off of the Pebble Beach, moved up like 20 points or whatever. And you could easily say that the fields were almost even, you know, and you know the players that were there. You know, John Rahm, best player in the world. Like you can't deny that. Like there's no one on the PGA Tour that I would say is better than John Rahm. Like you just can't say that right now. No way. No consistent number one at least. And I was stoked to hear that because that was the Masters that had to do that. It wasn't anyone else. The only other way that I've heard that they can get through it is through other tournaments that some of these players have been signing up, like the Asian Tour. They're trying to get in somewhere on the off weeks to get more points to move up so they are eligible for this, which is smart, but it kind of does suck, you know, in the sense that like you were promised one thing, you're not. Now you have to grind and fly across the world just to potentially have a shot. But what do you think about that? Well, a live player, Joaquin Niemann, who's not eligible for majors, getting a special invite from the Masters.
It's changing, man. Like it's changing.
Yeah.
I don't think he deserves to be there. I think he should have. I think he should have stayed on the PGA and at least grinded out at least one major
With how
before
young he
moving
is,
to
yeah.
live.
Yeah, too much of a
You know,
risk.
yeah. I mean, it's you could say the same thing with you know Harold Varner. Or, I was going to say Harold Varner.
Yeah, I can see that too.
What's wait? That's his name, right? Harold Varner,
The
the
Jordan,
actor.
black guy.
Yeah,
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 the
yeah,
black
yeah.
guy from Eastern Carolina. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing for him, right? I mean, he grinded that long on the Corn
Mm-hmm.
Ferry to freaking get up there, and all of a sudden he took the first opportunity. But it's like, in my opinion, did you actually give yourself an opportunity to really see if you could make it in the
Right.
PGA before just
Mm-hmm.
chasing a bag?
Mm-hmm.
Guys like Pat Perez and obviously Ian Poulter, Bubba Watson, some of those
Admitting
dudes.
it,
It's like,
they already
yeah,
know.
I mean,
They're on the
yeah,
tail end
it's
anyway.
they're on the tail end. They get it. They've already grinded. But, dude, you're 24, 25 years old. Bro,
Mm-hmm.
you got a solid 5 years where
Minimum.
you can do whatever you want,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, if you're already thinking about, never mind, I won't get to that part. But, I mean, still, like, you got 5 years, dude. Like, really just
Mm-hmm.
put pedal to the metal. Like, you know what your focus is. Get the
Yeah.
blinders on. Have fun. Do your thing. Grow your net worth, right? I mean, Tiger, Rory, John Rahm, all you know, DJ, Brooks Koepka, all those dudes didn't get those fat paychecks because they just got onto the tour and they had a lot of popularity. Like, no, those dudes had net worth that was like, okay, we know that this guy's going to bring over a huge following,
Mm-hmm.
and it's because they earned it. Like,
Oh yeah.
in my opinion, that's the key point.
Yeah.
They earned it, right? Joaquin, like, I love what I love you as a player, but from a major standpoint on a PGA event, sorry, buddy.
Yeah. We'll
That's
see.
just, it's just a nice gift. Like, take your opportunity, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
go on there and go out there and play the best golf that you had. But if you don't make
Because
it
if
to
he
the weekend,
doesn't, dude, it's going to be hard for the Masters to find it viable to send out another invite to a future live player, you know?
yeah, exactly, 1,000%. So I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Wish him the
And
best.
I know. I mean, honestly, I really just pull for live guys because of all the freaking PGA Tour loyalist trolls on internet that I'm just like loving just giving the finger to. Like, not myself, but just every time a live player does better in a major than like a PGA Tour player that's doing good, it's like, well, suck it, dude. Sorry. Like, it has nothing to do with what you think or what you're told. Like, just quit blindly following all this stuff and just be happy for the players, dude. At the end of the
That's what
day,
it's about.
you know?
That's what it's about. Yeah.
But one other thing I do want to talk about that I thought was really crazy, I didn't even know this was on the radar, but Charlie Woods is looking to earn a spot in his hometown PGA Tour event. He's looking to make his PGA Tour debut. I don't even know how old this kid is,
I heard
whether
about
it's
that. I think he's
15,
only.
16,
I think he's 16 or yeah, he's
16.
16 now. I think.
But apparently, he will compete in Thursday's pre-qualifier for the Cognizant Classic in the Palm Beaches. He'll play at Lost Lake Golf Club in Hobe Sound, Florida, one of the 4 pre-qualifying sites. Approximately 25 players and ties will advance to the Monday qualifier, which 4 players from there will earn spots in the Cognizant Classic, which is a brand new name to me. I've never heard of the Cognizant Classic.
You won't hear. You won't hear about it. It's a super. It's a super young. Or I'm sorry. It's an early stage tournament. For a lot of amateurs, like once you make it past certain qualifiers, that's where you go to kind of earn another spot in the next tournament.
Kind of
Um,
like a Q. What do they call it? A Q school,
Kind
where
of,
you
yeah.
move up
I think it's
every.
kind of like a Q school. Yeah, I think it's kind of like a Q school qualifier. But dude, I think it's about time. I think it's about time a kid like him steps up. I mean, obviously he has the notoriety, right? Of like, dude,
Mm-hmm.
this Tiger Woods' kid.
Oh yeah.
So they're making it bigger, but still, I think it's about time that you see kids starting to make moves like that. Because if you look at the LPGA and female events, dude, there's girls who are competing who are like 11 years old,
Well, like,
12
what was
years
it,
old,
like 15, 20
13.
years ago when Michelle Wheat came out of nowhere at 17 or whatever? Like, that was like 15, 20 years ago. Like, now
Mm-hmm.
with all of the research, all of the everything, like, kids are always getting better. They're learning more. Like, I think back when I was in high school, my mom was like, oh, I learned. No, I was like in middle school. She was like, oh, I'm learning that. I learned that math like my senior year of high school. You know, you're constantly moving up and you're learning more at a younger age. And people are doing that just like everything else. Like, it's like, what were you doing when you were 17? It's like, well, having fun and playing baseball and not really caring about school, you know, just trying to pass. Well, Mike Trout was getting drafted and he literally was like an all-star at 19. And it's like, what the heck? It's like, it's insane how these kids are capable of doing it, but at such a
There's
young age, you know, it's
there's
crazy.
kids there's kids that just are God. They just have God given talent, and Mike Trout is definitely one of them.
Well, the God-given
But I
talent
mean,
is one thing, but the grind and the
right?
discipline at such a young age is
Tim
so much more
Tim
difficult, you know?
Tebow, look at Tim
Mm-hmm.
Tebow, right? I mean, it's guys just are cut from different trees, man, and that's where, like, I was telling you, like, when I did Team USA, right? Like, dude, it was a complete reality check for me. Like, it was totally different seeing some of these guys who were in conversations with Yankees, with Boston, with Philadelphia, with the Giants, with New York, all these guys, and it's like it's a real reality check. And I remember having this conversation with my dad. I literally was like, I mean, I work hard, but holy shit,
Yeah.
like this is different. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's where it becomes like an obsession, a literal obsession. And now that I'm older, like I see that and I can honestly say, like, I loved the game of baseball. I won't say that I was obsessed with it, right? To
Yeah.
where, like,
Mm-hmm.
a
Mm-hmm.
game that is built off of failure, like, it bothered me. If anything, I kind of confided to the environment where I was like, oh, okay, I gave up a home run. Oh, I walked a guy. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
got another chance, and it was just mainly because, like, I just focused on what was the task at hand, right? Like, I can't change the past now. The guy's already on first
Mm-hmm.
base,
Oh yeah,
you know?
100%. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And for some guys, like, like Cole Hamels, you know, like freaking oh, what was that guy's name? There's Cole Hamels. You had Roy Halladay, guys like oh my God, he was Cliff Lee. There you go, Cliff Lee, right?
Oh yeah, Cleveland Indian. Oh yeah.
Dude, that guy, he would obsess with that. I mean, even if you look at Scherzer, right? Matt Scherzer now, like he's a dude who just is like, no fucking way that just happened. Like loses it, you know?
Yeah. I talk to
But
myself
going back
all the
to
time on the mound. All the
yeah,
time.
well, I would
I
too.
would
I
talk
would
to the
too. I mean,
batters. I would mess around, dude. I was just
yeah,
bad.
yeah. I like
What are
tuck
you
my glove
swinging at?
down.
I'd throw it. I'd be like,
I,
"What are you swinging at, dude?" It's
I
like
would
I'm getting the
I would
ball
tuck
back.
I would tuck my glove down and just be like,
I wouldn't do that, but I would literally like leave it, like throw a pitch down the middle on accident, and they took it. I'm like, dude, what are you taking? You know, like
yeah.
when you leave those pitches, and as soon as it comes out of your hand, you're like, oh no,
You're like,
and
oh
like
no.
they foul it, they miss it, they take it, and you're like, I literally be like, dude, you're not gonna see another one of those, or
Yep.
like
Yep.
they swing at a bad pitch, like, dude, what are you swinging at? Like that was a terrible. I didn't
Yeah.
even think that. I didn't even mean to do that, and it happened, and like now you're down. It was just I
Yeah.
was
I,
constantly talking to
I
myself.
I was so kind of to my point with all this, and I'm right there with you. I would constantly talk to myself. I'd curse myself out. I would, you know, be
Yeah,
my biggest. I'd be my worst critic and my best, you know,
biggest
my
fan.
best friend at the same time. Yeah, my
Yeah,
biggest
right,
fan at the
right,
same
right,
time.
right, right.
But for Charlie Woods, like this is something where I think the most amazing thing. I think the most amazing thing about seeing Charlie kind of rise to the occasion for some of these events. I mean, sorry, the PNC for an example, right? The way he handles the media, the way that he
Mm-hmm.
handles like just his level of professionalism. Cameras are around, like he's like a grown adult, you
Yeah,
know, and it's weird. It is very weird because I think being 15 years old, if you were to ask me what were you doing, it was like I was chasing girls. I was
dude. If you had a
not
camera in front of your
prioritizing.
face, like messing
Yeah, yeah,
around, you know, like
yeah,
you're just being a kid. You're not like, yeah.
yeah, doing all the stupid stuff, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you just didn't prioritize certain things, right?
Mm-hmm.
You knew that there was going to be moments where it was like, okay, like we're here for dad's work thing, like
Yeah.
hello,
Right. Right.
onion
Right.
is who,
Yeah.
right? But no, like you don't hear or even see Charlie Woods like being a kid,
Does
you
he even
know?
have an Instagram? Because
I don't know.
I think I saw something where like Tiger Woods didn't allow him to be on social media or something like that because of everyone that could, cause how easily accessible athletes are or anybody is when you're on social media, right? It's just a DM away from someone reaching out to you. And if you're someone that's high up, you know, you just are so easily going to be constantly beat down by just trolls, jerks, you know, and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean
Comes with the
that's a
territory, but you know,
well, but I mean even for any other kid, right? I mean we have two little ones. I'm expecting another, and I think that's a question that everyone has, right? How do you protect it from that? Because again, you know, you see, I don't know, in my opinion, it's like Instagram, TikTok, all this stuff is just kind of getting out of hand. I mean, for kids who live in front of a screen at such a young age, kind of dismissing what's outside, like the beauties of scraping your knee when you're trying to learn how to ride your bike, like climbing a tree, going to the park and making a new friend. Like everything is just so it's so forgotten, right? And I kind of commend or not I do commend Tiger for teaching Charlie like, dude, you don't need it. Like what's it
mm-hmm,
going to do for you? It's just going to distract you. What do you want to
mm-hmm,
do, right?
mm-hmm.
I have a 9-hole golf course in the backyard for you. You got all this stuff here to go play with. There's awesome facilities that we can go to go work on what you want to do for golf,
Mm-hmm.
right? I
And you
think
can
my
also use
biggest
Tiger as a mentor. You know, like, hey, what I've done wrong, just look at that. Like,
see, but see, I think Tiger's handling it in such a great way, and I love how how he continuously like sets the bar with the media, which or sets it straight by saying like, I'm not trying to coach him.
mm-hmm,
I'm not trying to mentor him. I'm literally just being a father sitting back and letting him do something that he wants to have for fun because I think if you were to ask Tiger, what's something that you maybe missed out on as a kid when you were playing? And the truth is Earl just hounded on him. Hey, you
Mm-hmm.
got to go out there
Mm-hmm.
and go do this. Everything was so structured as far as like what is our ultimate goal,
Military
right?
was, yeah.
But ultimately, it was Earl's goal to get him to give their family an opportunity, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you see, I mean, that would be my question, right? Is like, is Charlie actually like a 15-year-old kid? Correction, he is 15. So
Okay.
is he being a 15-year-old kid, or is he just like wake up at 5 a.m.,
Mm-hmm.
go run 5 miles
Right.
with dad, get in the gym, go hit balls, go do this? It's like, it's good to have that discipline. It's good to instill that
Mm-hmm.
discipline, but he's still a kid.
Yeah.
Like,
Gotta have your fun.
yes,
You gotta be do
yeah,
your kid stuff, you
yeah,
know? Of
yeah.
course. And I
That'd be
remember,
my
dude,
thing.
did you ever watch, I don't know how long it's been out for, but on Netflix they had a thing where it followed like the super kids of like their sports, and
Mm-hmm.
they were like like 10, like
Yep.
8 years old. And one of them
Mm-hmm.
was like, I forget the
Amari. Is that the junior golf one that you're talking about?
there was one that was a junior golf one, and it was
Short game.
Sorenstam. Short
Short
game,
game.
yes. It was like Vance or something, Chance Sorenstam, where like I think his, no, not Sorenstam. Well, his sister was a professional tennis player, and like
Oh,
the whole family.
You're talking about Alan Kornikova.
Kornikova, that's the one. And
Yeah,
this
yeah.
kid, like, he was like 5 or 6 years old, like won all
Mm-hmm.
these like junior golf tournaments, was an absolute stud, and
Yep.
his workout routine and his like diet was so strict from his parents,
Yeah.
such a young
Yeah.
age.
Yeah.
And it was just insane because like even though he did that, there was one kid that just always had his number. Kind of like, Jordan Spieth and JT, like there was Spieth one on one had always had his number in college, always had his number. Like for whatever, like however good Justin Thomas was at Alabama, if they went head to head, whether it was a championship, whether it was a tournament, Jordan Spieth always had the last laugh, no matter what, no matter what. It was just in his head at that point. And it was just
Yeah.
like that dude was probably like a me where I was a kid, except that kid had so much talent at such a young age that Allen had it, but he's also so young. Where it's like you
Yeah.
gotta like let him enjoy the fun of being a kid, because otherwise they're gonna resent the parents in the long run, even if they are successful, because they didn't have a childhood. They have a kid, then they're gonna live through their kid, and there's just so many things that could happen. It's nice, but I don't know. That's just my thought on it. Where it's like it might be
No,
too much.
I think you're 1,000% right, but you know what? You saw the different dynamics in the way that parents were, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
Alan Kornikova came from wealth already. He was a
Mm-hmm.
member
Oh yeah.
at the Trump course, right? He literally talked about, oh yeah, if I have one piece of cake, right? Like that means I need to consume 3 bottles of Trump water, right? Because then that way my body can replenish and take out all the bad stuff and da 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 da.
The
Like,
fact that he knew that is just crazy.
but that's the difference though, right? Like your sister was one of the top was one of the top tennis players in the world. Her career
Mm-hmm.
was short lived, but she did amazing things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he grew up around that environment. He understands. Like he had those very high level conversations. Then you look at a girl like Alexa Pano, right? Alexa Pano was an absolute. She was just an absolute unit as a kid, right? In those junior tournaments. I mean, she dominated everything. I think she won almost every tournament she played in, all the way from when she was 10 to about when she was 13. And even for her, now she is an LPGA player. I think she's 18 years old now.
Jeez.
She won her first event. Uh, she won her first event at the. Trying to look it up. At the ISPS Hannah.
Yeah, well, no
Hannah
wonder
event.
you had to look that one up. That's a tough one.
I did. I did. Well, because now that you're talking about it, right, and I look up Alan Kornikova. There's everything.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the way that the dad was for Alexa, it was like, hey, like I'm just your caddy. Like we have some superstitions, but
Mm-hmm.
just remember the basics, right? Remember your left eye, right? Let's focus on, just get in the fairway and we'll figure out from there, right? Like don't stress. And she did, right? She had the ethic to go, or she had the work ethic to go out there and practice, and they highlighted that very well in that documentary, I thought. The one that I think a lot of people were concerned about was Amari Avery, right? Amari's dad and mom came from nothing, but their daughter was one of the top ranked US kids players in the world at the age of 10 years old. The dad even talked about it. He would quote Earl Woods's book or biography about how it was that he got Tiger, to fall in line and get these things going. But it's different. Like, you're seeing, I think for them specifically, they saw the amount of wealth, right, that was in the world of golf. And the dad just wanted to be the opportunity to be like, look, we came from nothing, but now look at us now. Like, we are huge. He wanted to have that pride of saying that, even though him and his wife, like, they worked their butts off. They lived out in Compton in LA, I think it was, and he worked his butt off for every dollar. I mean, he literally broke it down of like the course that they went to, right? Per round, it was $20 for her to play. They needed over 200 golf balls for her to hit a day, which was like another $30 plus gas and travel. Then it shows them going to McDonald's, where you saw like the kid from France, his mom's over there making him a Belgian waffle with like, all this great food, right? But now check her out. Like now I think she's what? I think she went to
USC. I just looked it up.
Yeah. Yep. She went to USC and she's still competing, right? I mean, dude, like it's amazing to see how these kids are doing, and again, like those three in particular, you saw what it was like to come from like come from wealth.
Yep.
Then you saw what it was like to be like just middle class, hey, like we get by, we're doing our thing, like we're doing great. And then you saw what it was like to really struggle, right? And this is where, like I said, what we do and why we do things, it has to have some piece of an obsession, right? It starts with the leadership of, are you buying into the system? And that's where you saw it. Like Alan saw it from his sister and saw the successes that came from his sister. Alexa saw it as like, my dad loves golf. Like, I want to fall in love with golf because I can spend more time with my dad, because I'm he's a single parent and we spend 24/7 together. Then you see a home where every dollar counts. Every single event puts them in a hole, but they need, in order for them to break even, they need to finish top 5. Like there has to be something, and there was nothing. The most common thing between all three of them was there was nothing less than winning. Anything below winning,
right,
was like, failure. We're going back to the drawing board. Like, it's unacceptable. So
that's a lot of pressure to have for a kid at a young age. I mean, like some can handle it, some can't. You see the Bryce Harpers, you see the Tiger Woodses, but they're just like one in billions, 1 in billions. And because like Bryce Harper, I remember he was like, 13, 14, he had like that 580-yard foot home run, the longest home run ever, where like the ball rolled there. And then Tiger Woods, obviously, he did his thing. And football, there really hasn't been one that's been known about from such a young age, besides of course playing, like unless you're talking about like someone like a Marvin Harrison Jr. that you've known about someone because of his dad and he played in the NFL and you saw him playing football, but you didn't know what he was doing. You didn't hear about them like every single week what they're up to. Same with Charlie, Woods. He's in the spotlight, not as much, but some people can handle it, some can't. And of course, at the end of the day, it's up to the parents to realize what's best for their kid and what they can handle and what they can't handle. And don't just push them because it's for you. Push it for the family or mainly the kid. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I said, everyone's different, but
yeah. I mean, the one thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's it. That was it. No.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, the one thing that's like instilled in me that my dad would always tell me, right? One of them. I mean, my dad told me a lot of things, but one that really stuck that, I'm carrying over with Adelina is, I'm never going to tell you to give up on your dream. It's my job to help continue to push you to achieve your dream. Right. And that's the one thing is, again, like if Charlie's dream is to, essentially try and beat his dad's records. I mean, that might be a long stretch, but even just to get onto the PGA Tour, he's got it. I mean,
He's on the right path, that's for sure. He's got the
yeah, he's on the
swing.
right path. Yeah, he's on the right
He's got the
path. It's
perfect
just,
person to follow, to ask for advice, mentor,
yeah,
you know?
he's got a
And
lot of people to follow. I mean, don't rule out JT, dude. Like JT lives at Tiger's house. Like those him, Rory, like Colin Morikawa, maybe not DJ anymore, but like all those dudes. I mean, who are super close with Tiger towards the like what we're seeing is going on with Tiger now. Charlie gets to pick all those dudes' brains, and I'm sure those guys are like, dude, let's go outside, let's go work on this, let's grab that 56, let's try it.
oh yeah, he always
There's
messes
no,
with him at like the father son tournaments. He would like JT
yeah,
would always mess with Charlie, give him a hard
yeah,
time, knock his ball or things like that. But yeah, I mean, I do have
yeah,
another
man,
question before we wrap it up. The the Genesis Invitational happened, and you saw Hideki Matsuyama win. Awesome for him. I think he shot a 9 under on the final round, which was insane. He didn't know if he won until I think it was Will Zalatoris who again came out of nowhere. Apparently, he's been playing really well with his. I don't know if it's an anchor-based putter, but he's got the long kind of putter.
yeah.
And I don't know if you've noticed this, but on the PGA Tour, I'm starting to see a lot of lab putters. Have you noticed that? They're starting to
Mhm.
pop up much more
Get one,
consistency.
get one. It changes
Yeah,
your life. I'll give you one of mine. I'll let you try it if you want.
maybe. I'll definitely try it. I wouldn't hurt to try it. But I mean, like I said, dude, I mean, like you saw some of my putts. Like I had some. I'm so confident with mine, you know. And I know it's
Mhm.
different. I know it's like completely different because it's got the whole balance, lie angle balance. I think is what it stands for, right? Lab, um, or loft. I think it's lie angle balance. But it's just crazy to see those are popping up. The main ones that I think I first saw was with Busted Jack. They were the first ones I was
Yeah,
like, what the heck are you putting with, dude? That thing looks like you have a freaking bottle
flying
opener.
saucer.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, dude, freaking crazy. And at first when I saw a Cole Lance putt, I was like, okay, he's got, just probably I think originally he had a Scotty Cameron. Then he got this one. I thought it was just a Scotty Cameron with like the hosel right in the middle of it. I was like, cool. Then I found out it wasn't. I'm like, what is that thing?
Yeah,
And I look it up on the website. I'm like, if I got it for
it's a lab
free,
putter.
maybe, but like, I don't know,
Yeah,
dude. Like, not the
it's
most
pretty
pretty
it's
looking.
pretty neat. It's not the most beautiful looking thing. That's why it took me forever to kind of find mine, because I was like, I'm not playing with that massive freaking floor mop. Like, I'm sorry, I'm
Dude,
just not.
that's gonna add like 2 pounds to your bag.
Yeah, well, it's a pretty neat fitting experience that you go through, because it really has to come down to the lie being that it's center shafted, but also they have grips that have like 1 degree of forward lean already, right? So you can
Hmm.
keep your hands still, knowing that like you have a degree of D
Where
loft
instead of
already.
putting your
Just
hands forward, de-lofting it
exactly,
already. Okay.
instead of de-lofting and then slightly opening the club, now you're keeping that face centered throughout the entire thing. And that's like the biggest thing about the lab putters is they are built to truly be like a center balanced, center faced putter. No matter how
Mm-hmm.
you lie it, that no matter which way you rotate it, it always rotates in the center. And you
Yeah,
can't find, like, you can't get
it's
something like this.
insane. It's
You
insane.
can't get something like this to do that. If you hit the ball
Yeah,
here,
because
it's
it's
going to
so
spin
off
this way.
centered. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so that's where it's like they've expanded the sweet spot. They've basically kind of, I guess, minimized the off putt dispersion compared to like what most traditional putters do now. And it's great, dude. Like, I mean, you've seen how I've putted with mine. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I love it. It looks like it's just a piece of metal welded
Metal.
to
Yeah,
a
dude.
stick, but
That feels
bro,
so
it
heavy
find it
too.
find
It's
it
so
finds the
heavy.
hole. Yeah,
It
it
does.
finds
It
the hole.
does. It does.
Yeah,
But I mean,
dude.
did you watch any of the Riviera
Yeah,
tournament at all?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I did. Yeah, it
What'd you
was.
think?
I watched. I thought it was good, man. But I don't know. The rib just never really like
Did it for you?
excites me. Yeah,
Yeah.
the last day was exciting to kind of see five dudes tied for the
Mm,
lead. And it was going back and forth. Like, I saw Wiz Zalatoris was like walking off a 12, and he was 15 under overall, and it was like, sure enough, there goes the other five guys, ding 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 ding, all birdies, 16, right? And then it was
mm-hmm.
it was the one hole where It was the final group um, what's his name? Guy who
Not
won.
Hideki.
Yeah,
Hideki
yeah. It was with
Matsuyama.
Hideki. Yeah, with Matsuyama, where they were coming into like the 16th hole. One guy went right, the other dude went left. Matsuyama's right in the middle of the fairway, and then you kind of just saw him kind of take it away from there. And I was like, ooh, okay.
Well, the crazy thing
He,
was, he got interviewed after the round, and his interpreter said, like, I feel like I shot 3 over today. And it's like, bro, you were like 1 inch, a couple inches away from shooting the best round at the Riv in the PGA
yeah,
Tour history. And it's like, that's how crazy golf is. Like, I know I like for my round I shot a 70, which was 300, but I know I could have shot as good as a 68 to a 65, just with a few putts that went my way. But also on the other end of that, I had some really good putts that normally don't go in. They could have been 3 putts if I didn't hit them
mm-hmm.
well. That could have easily been even or 1 over just because of that. And also my, what do you call it? My recovery shots. So I had some pretty good recovery shots from some bad shots. And it's just crazy how golf is like that, where it's like, you said that it takes a hole or even a shot to make you feel like you're back. But Hideki, I was watching some of the shots that he had on Sunday, and he'd be like, watching it go, and it would like land like a foot and a half away from the hole. And then you kind of look back into the, because like I know like the Japanese culture, they don't really very smile. They don't smile a lot. They're not like as like happy, not happy, but like they don't really show the emotion, right? Like how they're really truly feeling. Um, and Hideki would just look back, and you could see in his eyes that he wanted to like give like a smirk, like, "Oh man, I kind of got away with one," you know. And golf is just such a crazy game, when you can feel one thing. But again, I feel like at the same time, you can kind of compare it to like being a pitcher and not feeling like you have your best stuff. But when that happens, you kind of pitch better because you're focusing more. You're like
Mm-hmm.
focusing on your mechanics more. You're focusing on hitting your spots more instead of just feeling like, okay, I'm letting it go today and I'm comfortable. I got a lot of speed on my ball, I got a lot of pop. But by doing that, you just allow a lot more throws over the middle, hit easier, instead of grinding more and
Yep.
focusing more. And it's just crazy how I guess sports are in general.
Yeah, 1,000%, man. I mean, that's kind of going back to your spot or kind of going back to what you said um, about Matsuyama. Just kind of, uh, you know, we all have that. I think when you're in that zone and you're expecting perfection for every
Right.
swing, it's like you're so locked in. It's like you can feel like, oh, I caught that one a little thin, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, but then it just turns out to be okay.
Yeah.
Like, and again, it's I think we've all heard Tiger and a lot of players say this, right? It's not about who's playing the best. It's whose miss is better, right? Because
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
not going to hit the ball perfect every time, and
Mm-hmm.
if you do, it's like, what in the world's going on? Like
Mm-hmm.
this is you're kind of in a whole other place where it's surreal that you're like, I can't miss. Like
Mm-hmm.
what is this? And
Yeah.
that I think is the hardest thing to kind of maintain your focus, maintain like that like what's going, like, okay, we're focused in, right? um I think that's harder than not playing your best but getting away with shots and just trying to make the best of something to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, hey, that happens to everyone.
Dude, I literally just saw something a few days ago on Twitter, and it was like, you remember when Tiger Woods had the flu
Mm-hmm.
and he won by 11 shots? And like it went through like this whole thing, and it was just like, it was rainy, it was at Bay Hill, I think, and he was just talking about his day, just like, I all night, I was throwing up all night, so my abs were extremely sore today. Every shot that I had, my abs just hurt because of from last night throwing up and all constantly throwing up. And so like my abs, every shot, you use your abs. And he's like, I did not look forward to every swing because I knew it was going to hurt every single swing. And it's like, this dude shot 11 better than the field at Bay Hill. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, it's just crazy. Like how some
Yeah.
people are just so different than everyone else. It's just like, come on, peasants, like get it together. Like, come on. If this was the time to beat
I
me,
will I
that
will
was it.
say, dude, like one thing I absolutely loved feeling sore going into starts was like my forearms.
Really?
and my biceps. I loved that feeling. And so I used to take like my Jaeger bands, and after doing my warm ups and stuff, right,
Mm-hmm.
I'd sit there and like step on them, so that way there was more resistance,
More
and
testing, yeah.
I would I'd leave my hands flat like that, and just do curls, like as many as I could before I had to start doing my bullpen, and then before going out, I do more. I just loved feeling like that bubble on my bicep, like kitting up, and then feeling my forearm just. Oh,
Dude,
I love
you wanna know
that.
something crazy? Before we log out, I never lifted upper body in college.
I
I
know
felt that
you told
I,
me about that.
I felt that I had a whip, and I'm like, you know what? I've seen people where they're like jacked. Like we had this Canadian guy on our team, and he would eat so healthy. You know, he was very dedicated to his craft. He was like 6'4", just this big dude. You look at him and you look at me, and you're like, okay, which one pitches better? Which one throws harder? Obviously, the big Canadian dude. Obviously, I had like 5 or 6 miles an hour on him, no questions asked. I pitched a lot better than him, and it was just like, does because to some people having too much of muscle could slow you down when it comes to trying to get that fast twitch motion going. For others
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't, and I was worried that if I ever did touch anything upper body that it could, and so I was
Yeah,
like, you know what, I'll just do lower body, keep my base as good as possible. Well, not really as good as possible because I didn't devote too much to it outside of working out. My eating habits were terrible, but you couldn't tell because we ran so dang much.
yeah,
um,
fat
but
pulse.
yeah, oh my gosh, foul poles for freaking days. But yeah, so yeah, it was crazy. But I feel like for now we got a good spot to log out for tonight. I feel like talked about a lot. I think what's coming up, the Mexico Open is coming up. I don't really know if I'm gonna watch that, but I might because it might be the only thing that's on this weekend. But hope you guys have enjoyed checking out our podcast, and also on top of that, just want to let you guys know that if you haven't hit us up on Facebook, and by face, man, I can't even talk right now. If you haven't hit us up on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube. We're over 600 subs. We're doing okay. Actually, I had a short that hit 8,000 views. I was like, dang, what the fudge? This thing's popping off. Okay. TikTok's going all right. Hit us up on TikTok. We're trying to schedule a next video for us to shoot. We got a lot of things coming up. Hoping to have Julio out here sooner rather than later. But don't forget to stay fly and go low. And hopefully, we'll see you next week.